Alrighty, we are recording, and I will make the recording available tomorrow. I'll send you guys and gals an email, and that should help you with that. So, can everybody hear me okay? Just give me a big thumbs up. Awesome, outstanding. Can you see my screen share that says Think and Grow Rich Study Group? Introduction and Win-Win Agreement. Outstanding. So, this is an informal session, but there's a lot of stuff that we're going to cover. There was 70 something people that registered, and I think right now we have not quite 70, that's for sure, but I guess they'll be filtering in as we go along. Early bird catches the worm, as they say. So one of the things that we want to talk about is the whole concept behind the book. And Napoleon Hill was an interesting individual in that he analyzed 500 of the wealthiest people. And from that, he discovered one major principle that stood out above all others. And if you read any of his other books, you know that he wrote about 15 principles, which later on became 17. Does anybody know what was the number one principle that Napoleon Hill spoke about in all his other books besides Think and Grow Rich? Anybody want to share or take a stab at it? Go ahead, Lisa, just unmute yourself or anybody. Nobody's, the way you unmute yourself is you just go to your screen and hit unmute.
Hi.
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm outstanding as always.
I think, I don't know if it's the first, but I think desire.
Okay. In order to have desire, what must you first have? Well, a mind, yeah. Kind of comes with the package when we're born. But
With the thought, you got to have the thought, the idea first.
An idea of what?
Of your purpose.
Bingo. The first principle is definiteness of purpose. Now, later on, when Napoleon Hill went into retirement in the 1950s, a gentleman by the name of W. Clement Stone pulled him out of retirement. And he was already 63 or 64. And they made a decision that they would reintroduce Think and Grow Rich to the world, because the book was written in 1937. The original book, Law of Success, was written in 1925 and published in 1927. So it had been a long time since this particular book was introduced. So they reintroduced it, and they agreed to work for 2 years together. And their goal, their definite purpose, was to do 10 years work in 2 years. And W. Clement Stone is, by my opinion, one of Hill's most successful students, because he was able to, in 1939, set a goal using the principles in Think and Grow Rich, that by 1956, he would have a net worth of $10 million, and that his insurance company, Combined Registry Insurance Company, would be the largest company in America of its kind, which he accomplished both of those goals. Because in 1952, he was only worth $3 million, and he began to work with Mr. Hill. After 10 years of working together with Mr. Hill, because what happened is they didn't work for 2 years, they ended up working for 10 years, and they began expounding upon the principles in the book. And their biggest argument was Mr. Stone believed that the number one principle should be a positive mental attitude. Mr. Hill said it should be definiteness of purpose. Mr. Stone contended that if you don't have a positive mental attitude, then you're not going to set a good goal. So they argued back and forth. In the end, Mr. Stone won. And so the number one principle in the rewrite was a positive mental attitude. How do you develop a positive mental attitude is one of the things that you'll learn. So Mr. Hill, as you can see, quoted that whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, it can achieve. But what are the key components there? That you must first conceive it and and then you must believe it before you can achieve it. Can you accomplish something that you don't believe that you can do? Anybody? Come on, let's hear some voices. Let's make it interactive, as it were. Nobody's going to bite you. This is a safe environment. Anybody want to take a shot?
I think the answer is no, because if you do not believe it, you will never go after it. If you don't truly believe in yourself,
Right.
fear and
Yeah.
doubt will hold you back.
Yeah. And so we must conceive is to think about something, right? And the key, according to Stone, was that a definite purpose backed by desire, fortified by persistence, equals success. I'll say that again. A definite purpose. Now, in our nomenclature, what is a definite purpose? What's another word for a definite purpose?
A goal.
A goal. Yeah, a goal. So what Napoleon Hill said basically is that if you conceive of a goal that you want, no matter what area of life it's in, and we're going to discuss goal setting in a in-depth version, because the reason most people don't achieve their goals is because they, number one, don't write them down. Number two, they don't understand auto-suggestion and the power it has to do what? What is the power of auto-suggestion? Anybody know?
You can convince yourself to do things.
It causes you to believe, right? I think it was Mr. Hill that said, even a lie repeated often enough becomes the truth. Now, we've seen evidence of that in politics over the last couple of years, where the big lie is told, and because it's repeated over and over again, Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, over and over and over again, we begin to believe it. So that's the truth of the matter. And what Napoleon Hill discovered during the Depression when he wrote this book was that every time they talked, if you talk about bank failures, are people willing to spend money? No. Why not? They're afraid. So it was the repeated suggestion that the economy was in the toilet bowl, that every bank was failing, that there was no money for banks, that the business was bad, is what caused or accelerated the 1929 Depression. Now let's compare the 1929 Depression to the 2008 to 2010 Depression. Because if you don't believe that in 2008, with people going unemployed and companies failing and the stock market crashing and the government having to come in and bail out all those companies, that wasn't a depression, then you really don't read your history. What was the difference? In 1929, the government did not step in. It allowed all those banks to fail. And what happened to consumer confidence? It dropped. And it took how long for our economy to recover? It took a war. It wasn't until the war that the economy started recovering. Why? Because what is a war? A jobs program, right? You take everybody off the streets and you give them a gun and you send them off to war. They all got a job now. So what we did differently in 2008, 2009, and 2010 is we bailed out Wall Street and the banks. And so we didn't get all that negative windfall. A lot of people lost their jobs. A lot of people lost their homes. But it wasn't a major recession or depression in the way that 1929 was. So what causes people to believe? The repeated suggestion. And that's why if you set a goal or if you have a definite purpose, if you choose the right one in the beginning, you're not going to believe it. You may have a certain amount of belief, but you're not going to believe it 100%. Because if you already believed, for example, that you could make $1 million a year, what would you have in your pocket right now? Or what would you be on pace? You would be on pace to make $1 million, right? Mm-hmm. Because you only believe what you see. And what he said is that we must first conceive it and believe it before we can see it, because that's the achieve part. Now, Think and Grow Rich is basically a rewrite of Law of Success. Law of Success was 15 volumes. It was a huge book. And it was the first book that made Mr. Hill a millionaire. But what happened is he published it in 1927 and he was making money. It was selling for $15 a copy when you could buy an entire dinner for $1. So it was a huge amount of money.
Yeah.
What happened in 1929 with book sales? If you can't afford to eat, you can't afford to buy a book. So all the money that he was making from royalties just seized up. And the money, and like many people in the roaring 20s, why was the stock market doing so well? Because the average American was investing in the stock market. And so everybody was throwing their money in the market, and then the market crashed. And Mr. Hill was not unlike anybody else. He had money in the market. So he basically lost his fortune. So he said in this book, he describes the famous Andrew Carnegie formula of personal achievement by which he accumulated hundreds of millions of dollars for himself and made, well, I think there's a typo, but basically was able to teach others to do the same. Now, remember the key. We're going to discuss the secret today. And the secret is basically one part of the formula. We're also going to focus on the next 14 weeks because it's 13 lessons, but we're going to go for 14 weeks. And what we're going to do is we're going to set a goal, a business goal and a personal goal that we want to accomplish over the next 14 weeks. And we're going to go into detail on how to do that. And we're going to use this vehicle to help hold you accountable. Does everybody see the value in that? So if you never understood how to set a goal, you will learn how to do it from these classes. Okay, so let's go to the next page. So Napoleon Hill interviewed the wealthiest people in America at that time. This would be the equivalent of those people today to some degree. Instead of Andrew Carnegie, we have Jeff Bezos. Instead of Rockefeller, we have Zuck. And instead of Harvey Firestone, we have Elon Musk. And instead of Ford, we have Elon Musk. So we're still in the same place. I was listening to something interesting, and the valuation for Tesla is through the roof. And I was listening to one of the guys from Shark Tank, and he said, the reason that Tesla is overvalued is not because they make a great electronic car. But what happens is every time a Tesla drives down the road, it is graphing that road and creating a database of information that eventually will lead to a driverless car. Because the information it is collecting as people drive their cars is being transmitted back to the Tesla brain. So what they're doing is they're getting ready for launching a wireless, driverless car that can go anywhere in the world other than the ocean. Interesting. So, but in the beginning, in the introduction, Mr. Hill says in every chapter of this book, he mentions the money-making secret, which has made more than 500 exceedingly wealthy people. And now today, it's your turn to discover the secret. A particular thing about the secret is that those who once acquired and use it find themselves literally swept away to success with but little effort, and they never again submit to failure. That's a bold promise, isn't it? And that promise is that once you master this, you will never again have to submit yourself to failure. You'll be able to literally attract to yourself that which you set out for yourself. You'll magnetize the condition you seek, but it requires you to take control of what Lisa was pointing to earlier, you must take control of your mind. And that means that you must make a conscious decision or set a goal to no longer listen to negative news, to no longer associate with negative people, and you must feed your mind. In computer language years ago, they used to have an expression, GIGO, G-I-G-O, garbage in, garbage out. So if all you're doing is exposing yourself to a limited amount of information, that's going to affect the way you think. So you must make a decision to read, not every now and then, but every day, read 5 or 10 pages. Set a goal that you're going to read 5 to 10 pages of Think and Grow Rich. That you're going to grab a copy of the audio that I gave and you're going to listen to the condensed version of Think and Grow Rich once a day. It only takes 20 minutes. Where can you listen to that? You don't have to pay conscious attention. Everybody understand that? You don't have to pay conscious attention to the audio. I'll share with you how I know that. I wish I was an Oscar Mayer Wiener because that's who I truly want to be. Because if I was an Oscar Mayer Wiener, you all would be in love with me. Now, I did not sit there and handwrite that out. I didn't even pay attention to the commercial. They just played it over and over and over and over. And eventually it got stuck in there and I can't get it out. That was the power of the jingle, right? So if you will play that recording while you're driving the car, while you're walking the dog, today you don't have any excuses. You don't need a tape player or a CD player or a 8-track player or any of the old tools that we used to use or an audio. You can just put it on your cell phone, download a music app. I use YT Music. That's my app. And I upload everything to YT Music and then I play it. Now, I also use YT Music when I get in the car because I don't want to listen to the crap that's on there. So I can listen to whatever playlist I want. But I have a library of material that I can listen to. And all I am is seconds away from listening to something that's positive rather than something negative. And I'll tell you the truth. When I don't listen to something positive on a daily basis, I can see it affecting my emotional state. And so what we're going to look at also is emotional mastery. And that means that you master your emotional state. As Tony Robbins used to say, peak performance comes from a peak mental state. If you walk into the ring thinking that he's going to knock you out, guess what? He's going to knock you out. Right? 2 fighters walk into the ring. They don't believe, neither of them believes they're going to lose, but we know that one is going to lose, right? There can only be one winner. And what makes the difference? Desire. And we'll learn more about desire and how to create it. So, just bear with me for a second. I just want to see. Wow, 75 people, only 14 showed up. Guess we got the diehards here today, huh? All right, so we're going to discuss the win-win agreement. So if you will look in your email tomorrow, I'm going to send you out a PDF that you can fill in. You don't have to print it. You can fill it in and you can complete it. So what is a win-win agreement? A win-win agreement is an agreement that you're going to make with me and everybody in this group that you're going to identify 5 goals. And from those 5 goals, you're going to pick 1 business goal and 1 personal goal. So here's how that works. We're going to then convert those goals into SMART goals. So for example, let's say I put down a goal that I want to write a book, right? Now, 14 weeks from now puts us where? What is 14 weeks from today? What is the date 14 weeks from today?
December 2nd.
Man. So December 2nd is a Thursday. So your deadline is December 2nd. So let's say I have a goal to make $500,000 this year, right? And that's what my goal is. And I have 14 weeks. What do? I take 500,000 and divide it by 14, and that becomes my goal for the next 14 weeks. Now, all goal setting is not about anything other than a personal goal. So you might have a business goal to increase the revenue in your business to $50 million. But what's going to motivate you is your personal goal. So for example, here's one of my personal goals. Now, the key tools for motivation or for building a desire is visualization. And that means, remember what Confucius said? I think it was Confucius. What did he say? A picture is worth what?
1,000 words.
1,000 words. So I could say Lexus LC 500 convertible, or I could just show you a picture of it. Now, if you see the picture, you're going to get more motivated than if I just say the words. Because the way the human mind works is we think in images. How do you teach a kid dog? You show them a picture of a dog and you go dog. Or you see a dog and you point to it, dog, right? The child does not go D-O-G. He doesn't flash those words into his head. It's the image. Our brain thinks in images. And so you need to decide what it is you want and then get images of it. And you need to have those images where you will see them every day. But more importantly, you must also create a goal and a deadline and a plan. Okay. Now, has anybody ever driven anywhere back in the days before GPS? Let's say you wanted to drive to Florida, where I live. And I moved recently, so I'm closer now to Orlando. My goal is to be near the water. I'm in the middle of the friggin' state. So much for the water. But anyway, the ocean is an hour away. Used to be 15 minutes away. But we're moving in that direction. So, and I'll share with you some personal information, because one of the goals that I set was I wanted to meet somebody and bring them into my life. And so the first thing I had to do, if I follow Napoleon Hill's formula, is what? What's the first thing I have to do to accomplish that goal?
Have a definite purpose.
Yeah, I have to conceive it, right? So now that I have the conceiving part, the next step is I have to ink it. I have to write it down. If I don't write it down, then it's not crystal. In order for you to achieve a goal, it must be crystal clear. So let me share. Let me see if I can do that. Let's go to new share. Okay. So, can everybody see that? Yes? No?
Yes.
Okay. So that's a Porsche 911, which is the goal that I'm now considering changing to. It's even the same price point as the Lexus, but I kind of like it better. Go back to the win-win agreement. Okay. So let's go to, let's look at the panel. Okay, so everybody's back. So one of the things that I did is I had to, if I wanted to buy a house and I was going to make a decision within 30 days, what do I need to know in order to buy a house? Can anybody help me?
What area you want to live in?
What town I want to live in, right? What else?
Mhm. How many rooms you want in the house?
How many rooms? Yep. How many
What month?
bathrooms, right? What?
Mhm.
What else do I need to know? How big a house? How many square feet? Right? How much are the taxes? It's Florida, so they're cheap.
If it has pool, no pool.
It's Florida. It's going to have a
Beaches.
pool. Beaches nearby. School system if I have youngsters.
Yeah, the environment.
The
a little bit.
environment. Safety. Is it a gated community, which a lot of them are here in Florida? Or is it an area that's safe? Right? So these are all things that I'd have to know in advance before I even go looking, right?
Mhm.
Or I could get an idea while I'm looking, but before I make an offer on a house, I need to know how many bedrooms I want, how many bathrooms I want, 1-car garage, 2-car garage, how big a yard, how big a pool, what the school system is like, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what that process is called, it's called crystallization. I am crystallizing my thinking so that I know specifically what I want to have. So are any people here single or divorced? Raise a hand. No? Is anybody here happily married? Raise your hand. Is anybody here not happily married? Don't raise your hand. We don't want to know. Okay, so I can only see a few of you. The rest of you that are blacked out, you're unhappily married or in a sucky relationship, I can tell. So here's the thing. So if I'm looking to bring somebody into my life, just like that house, what do I need to know in order to attract that person?
What kind of a person you want?
Right. So if I want somebody that healthy, fit, sexy, and attractive, who do I need to become?
Healthy, fit, sexy, and attractive.
Yeah, because if I'm obese, for lack of a better word, and I'm not putting down anybody that is having weight issues, but like attracts like. Opposites attract, that's just chemistry. But ultimately, if you hate the other person, you're not going to be with them for a long time. So like attracts like. So if I was reading an article that said that children that are overweight have a parent that is overweight or a relative that is overweight, that the behavior seems to come from the exposure, which according to Napoleon Hill, that becomes autosuggestion. Yeah,
Mhm.
constantly being exposed to it. And let's face it, the advertisements, who the heck wants to eat an Oscar Mayer wiener? It's full of nitrates. It's horrible for you. But guess what? They sold us. #1 restaurant in the world is what?
McDonald's.
McDonald's.
McDonald's. They're known for their healthy food, right?
Mhm.
Their French fries are basically sugar. They let them, that's why they taste good. They let them ferment to a point where it's almost sugar. And then they fry them. Another great idea, right? They used to fry it in lard. Now they use vegetable oil, big difference. But French fries are like 600 calories and it's all cardio unhealthy. Hard to get healthy food out there today. And if you're going to eat healthy, it's expensive. Seafood is expensive. Vegetables are expensive. But what's not expensive? Crap. It's cheap. Carbohydrates. So if you're going to attract somebody into your life, you must know a couple things. What type of things would be important to know about somebody that you want to attract into your life? What personality traits would you like? Women know this better than men. Loyal, #1, right? You don't want somebody who's a cheater, right? You want somebody who is not a drug addict, alcoholic, or a gambler. You don't want no degenerates. Men don't do it that way. See, what we do is we look at the body, the face, and we go, yeah, that's it. Women don't do that. They actually decide ahead of time what kind of person they want in their life. And then they look for those qualities. We only look at 2 qualities, well, 3.
Mhm.
In the 70s or 80s, they used to call it TNA, right? Remember anybody in that age group? Yeah, 1 or 2? All right. So you know what that means. Tea and coffee. All right. So the win-win agreement, you're all going to receive it in an email. And the first part is you're going to look at your life right now and say, what are my challenges? What is challenging me right now? And you're going to write down 5 things. 3 of them are going to be business related. Business related, I mean job, career, income. And the other 2 are going to be personal. So one of them could be a personal goal is what's going to drive you. So what drives me to make the money and work hard is that I want to be driving that Ferrari 911 convertible down to the beach and have it blow through the few remaining pieces of hair I have left. Right? So that's what does it for me. And of course, to have somebody that's sexy, attractive, and et cetera, sitting next to me, whatever his name is. No, I'm kidding. Whoever she is. So anyway, That is what's going to drive you. Because
You
to
have
get
to-
up, one of the things is that nobody on their deathbed ever said, I wish I had spent more time at work. So while we're going to set financial goals, we're going to focus on the total leader concept. And I want you to write that down. Total leader concept. The total leader concept is that in order to have a successful life, you must have balance. People like Rockefeller. Anybody know how many marriages Mr. Elon Musk is on now? He's on marriage number 4. He's a young guy. And he says in an article that I read recently, I am the worst husband. Guess what he is married to?
The worst wife.
His mission, right? Tesla, SpaceX, etc. That's his wife. That's where he spends his time. So if you don't have balance in your life, if I don't pay attention to you, ultimately, what will you do? People have, there's 3 things that people want to have. That is to be loved, to be liked, and to be appreciated. You cannot go to somebody and love them, appreciate them, and like them, and have them leave you. They will never do that. But if you don't appreciate them, if you don't love them and you don't like them, they're gone. Now, if you're spending all your time on your financial goals or your fitness goals, some people do it with fitness, right? All of a sudden they become obsessed with something, climbing Mount Everest, let's say, or competing in the New York Marathon, and everything else goes aside. Now, in the short term, that's okay. The problem is when the short term becomes the long term. So you can, one of the things that you can do is there may be an area of your life right now that you need to focus on. And it's okay to focus on it. Like back in July, when I came in 2013, I had congestive heart failure. And when I left the hospital, I was very weak. It took me about 1.5 years to get back to where I was healthy again. And it was a combination of exercise and following the instructions from the doctor. Then I came to Florida, and believe it or not, I couldn't find a goddamn cardiologist if I paid for it. It was very difficult to find a cardiologist. I figured it'd be the opposite. It should be easy in a state with so many seniors to find a cardiologist. But you know why cardiologists live in this state? For the same reason that people like me moved to this state. Anybody want to take a guess what that reason is?
More relaxed lifestyle.
What is Florida called?
Sunshine State.
Sunshine State. So if you're a cardiologist here, you got a boat and you got a nice house and you like to go fishing. And so what you want to do is not work more, but work less. So most of these cardiologists don't work 5 days a week. In New Jersey, I'd get a cardiologist like that. These guys, they got nothing better to do. It's freezing, it's raining, it's snow. Go to work. Here, I'm going fishing. I'm going out on the boat. I'm going to just chill today. They value, their life
play
values are
golf.
different. Huh?
Or play golf.
Yeah, play golf, right? Lots of golf courses down here. And the alligators are always on them helping you out. Right? So the thing is, that's why it became difficult. In fact, I recently had a consultation with a physician, and I said, what do you want to increase your income? Her answer was, Bert, I don't want to increase my income. I said, why not? She says, that means I have to work more. See, their problem, a doctor's problem is not the same as any other business. If you're a dentist, chiropractor, any business, what do you always need more of? The one thing you always need more of if you run a business, customers, right? So you got to spend money to find customers. Then you got to treat them like gold to make them come back. Do doctors have to do that? No, they do not. They are constantly being fed patients through the insurance system. So for them to make more money, they got to work more. And they don't want to work more, especially down here. So anyway, So what you must know if you want to attract somebody in your life, you must understand that you have to know who you want in your life, and then you have to be what that person is. Because if, let's say, for example, you have an unhealthy lifestyle, you don't eat well, you don't exercise, and you want to attract somebody who exercises and eats well, initially there might be an attraction. Let's say there's a physical attraction. But what happens after a while when you're having a Big Mac and they're looking at you going, why are you eating that crap? Then there's going to be, this, right? They're going to move away. So whatever it is you want, you must become. So the win-win agreement is we're going to focus on 5 challenges. It might mean that in 14 weeks, you want to lose 28 pounds, 2 pounds a week, or 1 pound a week, 14 pounds. Or perhaps in 14 weeks, you want to be able to do 100 push-ups nonstop. Or it might mean that you might want to be able to, like me, walk around the corner without feeling exhausted. Whatever the goal is, you're going to set a goal of 14 weeks, personal goal. What drives us, though, is the personal goal. It's what we can do with the money, not what the money is. Nobody gets motivated by money. It's what the money can ultimately do for us. It might mean that in 14 weeks, you want to take a vacation and you want to bring your family with you. And you might want to go to Hawaii and spend $2,000 and hope that by then COVID is, far away removed. So the second part is your program goals, right? So you're going to write down 5 goals. You're going to take those challenges and you're going to convert them into SMART goals. What's a SMART goal? A SMART goal must be specific. It must be measurable. It must be achievable. It must be realistic, and it must be tangible. So I'll give you an example. Years ago, when I was working a lot in the insurance business, I decided that one of my goals was to be a great father, right? So how do you make is a great father a specific goal? No, not really, right?
No, it's general.
It's also subjective, right? So how do I make it measurable? Because that's the second one. So I have
By
to
some
ask
of the
myself,
things you do.
right? Bingo,
Mhm.
Lisa.
Write it down.
So, huh?
Write it down.
Writing it down is critical, but to make it measurable, you have to ask yourself a question. What does a great father do? So my father was in the military. So what he didn't do was spend a great deal of time with me. So my logic was that a great father spends quality one-on-one time with their child. Now, does that mean that if I enjoy hunting, I drag my child to go hunting with me? And that makes it a pleasurable experience for them? No. If, for example, if I have a girlfriend or a wife and she doesn't like to go hunting, but I drag her off to go hunting because my goal is to be a great husband, am I really in tune with what's going on? See, a great father, a great husband finds out the things that the other person enjoys and then goes and does that with them. So if, let's say, your wife loves Broadway shows and you like sporting events, what do? You take her
Broadway
to
shows.
You take her to Broadway shows because the goal is to be a great husband. And a great husband doesn't say, come on, honey, we're going to go watch the New York Giants or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers down here. If she hates football, you're not going to make any points, right? You're not going to hit your goal. Your goal is not to be balanced, but to become a great husband or father. So my logic was that in order to be a great father, spends quality one-on-one time listening and doing things with their child that the child enjoys. So my goal was to spend 8 hours a month in quality one-on-one time with Mark, my son. So at first, I didn't know a lot of this, so it was a little bit of trial and error. So where did he want to go? Where does a 6-year-old or 7-year-old want to do? He wants to play video games. And back then there was arcades. So he wanted to go to arcades. He wanted to go and do certain things. Now, if all I'm doing is playing video games, is that quality one-on-one time?
No.
No. So if my date night with my wife is to go to the movies, is that spending quality one-on-one time with her?
No,
No, why not?
because you're both in the same place doing the same thing, but you're doing it separately.
Yeah, we're spectators. Now, if I want to spend quality one-on-one time with my significant other, and it happens to be a female, what must I begin to understand to do?
Things that she likes to do.
Things that she likes to do. What is the number one thing that women enjoy doing?
Being pampered.
Pampered.
Mhm.
How about having a
Shopping.
man? How about talking and a man listening? Does that get up there?
Also,
The women's brains are wired differently than us, right? A woman might speak 10,000 words in a day and a guy will grunt 5. So what you want to do is you want to be in an environment where you can talk to her. But more importantly, she's going to do 80% of the talking and you're going to do 80% of the listening.
But
Because
most men,
yeah, unfortunately, men don't do that, right? But what happens is the way a woman felt understood is by communicating. We don't. Men do not feel, we don't need to communicate. We can grunt. Right? We're cavemen.
True
So
fact.
you would take her to dinner. Would you take her to dinner that is loud and lots of noise? Or would you pick a nice quiet place?
quiet place.
Quiet place.
quite bad.
And then you'd say, hey, hon, how was your week this week? What's going on with you? And then you do this, shut up. And you just listen. And at the end of the night, after doing that and enjoying a beautiful dinner, she will feel closer to you and understood. She will feel loved, liked, and appreciated. And of course, every now and then you acknowledge that you're listening, because men have the ability to ask you a question and then tune out, right? So every now and then we go, wow, that's really
Especially if there's a TV passing some sport videos.
right? Yeah, we'll be like this. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Oh, damn, they won. Okay.
Mhm.
So you have to be to really get it crystal clear. So just having a date night for the sake of having a date night is nothing, And then if you're trying to, so if you don't have a goal to have a date night once a week with your wife, significant other, girlfriend, whatever, then that needs to be one of your goals. And you have to put some thought into it. Because what will happen, unfortunately, I have discovered, is you end up going back to the same restaurant every time.
Mm.
Now, fortunately for me, I'm only an hour away from Orlando, and there's so many places to go. So the person that I'm seeing, I took her to this restaurant. If you haven't ever been there, it's called Ocean Prime, and it is absolutely out of this world good. The service is 5-star, and they charge you for
Yeah.
that. But who cares? It's only money, and it's the experience that you want. So one of the goals can be to improve your relationship. One of the things that I had to do is with my dad. My dad used to call me up when he moved to Florida, and he'd say, "You never call me." And of course, I was busy. I was building an empire. And when you're in the empire building stage, you don't really have time for a lot of other things. So I would say, "Dad, why don't you call me? The phone works both ways." Right? Now, do you think now that my dad's been passed away for 10 or 11 years, that I would say that to him now, thinking back? Well, Dad, the phone works both ways. So now I call up my 2 sons. Do you know why? I call them both on Sundays. I don't text them. I don't ask them for permission to call them. Remember when we didn't need to do that? Today, hey, can I call you? Why do I have to text you? Can I call you? Why don't I just call you? You're either going to answer or not answer. Stupid, isn't it? We get into these stupid habits.
I would
But
never
I call them on Sunday. Why? Because I don't want to make the mistake that I made with my dad and say, "Hey, I'm waiting for you to call me." No. I have a goal to build a strong relationship with both my sons. And that means that I call, and when I call them, I ask questions and then I shut up. The conversation is about them, not me. Why? Because if I'm talking, what are they doing? They're off on
Not
Pluto.
listening.
Yeah, they're up in Pluto. So that's one of my personal goals. So when I made that goal specific, what is it? To be a great father. How is it measurable? By spending 8 hours of quality one-on-one time with my son, Mark, doing things that he enjoys doing. So I had to make a list of things that he enjoyed doing. Is it achievable? Is it something that I believe I can do? Yes, I can spend 2 hours a week with my son. That's not a lot, right? But it's one-on-one time.
It's
Is it
quality
realistic?
time.
It is time that they will always remember.
Yeah. Is it realistic?
Yes,
What makes it realistic?
quality time.
Well, here's the measurement of realistic. Achievable means, can you believe it? So if I set a goal to make $1 million by the end of the year, and I've never made $1 million in 1 year, is that achievable? No, I don't believe it.
No.
So it's not achievable. But if I said I want to increase my income by 20% over last year, that's more believable. You know, it's going to be a stretch, but I can do it. Realistic is about the deadline. If I set that same goal to make $1 million by the end of this year, that is not a realistic goal. But if I set the goal to be earning $1 million in 10 years, is that more realistic?
Yeah.
Yeah, may still not be realistic depending on what I do for a living,
Yes.
how much I make, but it's closer to being realistic. Realistic is just driven by deadline. If my goal is to have a net worth of $1 million in 1 year, that might not be realistic. But to have a net worth of $1 million by the time I'm 65 is definitely, in today's environment, realistic, because there's so many people that have $1 million saved in their 401k and retirement funds. Okay, so it becomes realistic. Tangible. So my goal of being a great father, is that tangible?
Mhm,
Think about that.
absolutely.
Okay, a car is tangible. Is being a great father tangible?
It's not tangible. Tangible is something you can touch.
Right. So
Well,
it's
you can
not
touch your
tangible.
son.
So what did I do to make it tangible? What's the tangible aspect of the goal? Remember, the goal is to be a great father by spending quality
Time.
8 hours a month in quality one-on-one time with my son, Mark. That was the statement of the goal. What was the tangible part?
Go out with him, to be
8
with him.
hours, the time. The time is tangible,
Oh,
right?
time.
the time.
Time
okay.
becomes tangible.
Oh,
So those are the 5 criteria that we must use to write the goal. So if, let's say, I put down that I want to lose 20 pounds, right, over the next 14 weeks. Is that specific?
Yes.
Mhm.
Yes. Can I measure that? Can I
Yes.
take a ruler to it? Yes. Is it achievable?
mhm,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A pound a week? Yeah. Is it realistic?
Yes.
mhm,
Yeah. Is it tangible?
mhm.
Well, what's tangible? What's the tangible part? 14 pounds. Okay,
Oh.
14 is tangible. It's a number. So to lose 14 pounds becomes the tangible part. So you take the intangible. So if my goal is to be a great husband, and the way I am a great husband is by spending at least having 4 date nights a month, a weekend getaway every 3 months, and every now and then surprising my wife with a gift, flowers, or something that she enjoys. Is that specific?
Yes.
Is it measurable?
Yes.
Is it achievable?
Yes.
Can I believe
Yes,
it? Is it realistic?
Yes.
Is it tangible?
yes.
Yeah. Now, being a great husband is not tangible. Now, here's the problem. How many people have a goal to be a great wife, great husband, great mother, great father that's written down and they have a specific plan to achieve it?
Very few.
Anybody?
I would say about 30%.
No way. It's not that high.
Yeah, that's
You don't
right.
think so?
Not that high.
I'd say much lower than that.
I'd say maybe 3%.
Yeah. So what did Napoleon Hill tell us? That we must have a definite purpose, backed by faith, and followed up with persistence. Never, ever, ever quit. Now, when we set our goal, we need to create what does it, has anybody ever? Okay, so let's talk about Edwin C. Barnes and how he found the secret. So if you know the story of Edwin Barnes, it's my favorite story because Edwin Barnes was a wealthy man, had tons of money, and all he did was offer money to Edison to become his business partner, right? Everybody read the story? He was wealthy, super wealthy, right? No, he was a vagabond, a homeless person in today's nomenclature, right? He was a hobo. And what did he do? For 5 years, he swept the floors at the Edison Laboratory in Orange, New Jersey. And after 5 years, he found an opportunity to become the business partner of Edison. And does everybody know that before he turned 30, he became a multimillionaire from selling Edison's machine?
The Ediphone.
Yeah.
The Ediphone. That's so cool.
And there was a plate on those machines that said, built by Edison, sold by Barnes.
Oh, I thought it was installed. Installed by Barnes.
Sold by Barnes.
Sold by Barnes.
Sold by Barnes. And that decision for 5 years, think about it. How many of you would stick behind a goal for 5 years?
I
And
have.
never quit, never ever quit. I think the closest that we do that is marriage for some of us, but it's not necessarily a goal. But because of societal conditioning, some of us stay too long in a marriage. That's okay. It is what it is, right? So what principles did Edwin C. Barnes apply? Well, number one, did he have a definite major purpose? Yeah, to become the business associate of Thomas Edison. He didn't say, I will work here for a year, and if he doesn't make me a business partner, I will quit. No, he said, I will stay here until he makes me a business partner. He had desire, and every day he was constantly intensifying his desire to become the business associate of Edison. He had this little routine that he called his morning speech. Anybody ever hear of it? Every morning, Mr. Barnes would read in front of the mirror in his bathroom his morning speech. And if you don't know it, I'll send you the link so you can read the article about it. Quite interesting story. Now, that definite major purpose was backed by desire. The desire to become a business associate with Edison. Now, when he first walked into the building to ask Mr. Edison for a job, was he dressed well? No, he was dressed like a homeless person. In fact, in the story that he told, because Mr. Barnes became a great friend of Mr. Hill. In fact, they shared an apartment at one time when he was down there spending time with Edison, because Edison was one of the key individuals that the book is based on. And what he discovered is that Mr. Barnes would get up every morning and read this statement out loud in the mirror. And one of the things that Mr. Barnes had, because he didn't have much clothes when he started, is he had 30 suits, one for every day. So in an entire month, he would never wear the same suit in one day. Each day of the month, he would wear a different suit. So the story, as Mr. Hill told it, is he asked Mr. Barnes if he could borrow one of his suits. And Mr. Barnes said, no. He said, but you have 30 of them. He says, I need them all. Now, it's kind of like a person that grows up without eating a lot. When they have money, they never want to go back to that. And so the same mentality. He also had belief, but how did he develop that belief? I just told you the answer. What did he do every day?
He told himself that.
He intensified his desire by reaffirming his belief in now. So what happens at first? The way it starts is when a new idea comes into the conscious mind, it's met with resistance, right? We, as humans, we resist new ideas. So the first time we hear a new idea, it's met with disbelief. And then when we hear it again, it's disbelief. And then when we hear it again, it's disbelief. And then when we hear it again, it's disbelief. And then when we hear it again, it's disbelief. And then when we hear it the seventh time, it's belief. And then it's the next time, belief, 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 until it's internalized. So the process is that we begin to believe that which is repeated. So if we repeatedly affirm our goals in a certain way, what we call a definite main purpose statement, in time, you will begin to believe it. As you visualize that belief, you will see what happens. Okay. So if I say I am a millionaire, and I'm not a millionaire and I don't have $1 million in this example, what does my conscious mind say? Yes, you are a millionaire, Bert? Or does it say bullshit?
Bullshit.
Bullshit, right? If I say I own a Lexus LC 500 convertible, what does my brain say? I don't own it. Not yet. What does it say? Bullshit. But what can I do? Can I look at this picture, right? And imagine myself driving down by the beach, enjoying a beautiful day, not too hot, nice and cool here in the winter. And can I see myself doing that? Is that possible? And does my brain go bullshit? No, it
Yeah.
accepts it. It accepts it, right? Because I can imagine anything, right? If I'm 300 pounds, can I imagine myself weighing 120 pounds or 150 or whatever the goal is? Yeah. But if I'm 300 pounds and I say I weigh 120 pounds, my brain's going to say, everybody say it with me. Bullshit. One more time. Bullshit. But I can visualize myself having weighing 150 pounds. I can visualize myself having that woman that I want in my life. I can visualize myself with my 911. I think I might get them both. My 911 convertible, one for Monday, one for, hey, maybe I should have 30 cars just like Edison, like Barnes had 30 suits. But I can visualize that, right? So I must conceive it and believe it before I can ever achieve it. Now, let's go back to the map. So before GPS, if I wanted to go to Florida and I was going to drive there, what did I need?
A map.
Huh?
A map.
What? A map. What is a map in reality?
Directions. There are directions.
Directions, right? What else?
A navigation tool.
Navigation. What's another word for navigation, Lisa?
Directions.
Okay, navigation, directions. That all becomes a plan, right?
Plan. Yep.
So now I have a plan or a map to get to Miami Beach, Florida, if that's where I want to go, or Tampa Bay, Florida, or Orlando, wherever I want to go. Now I have a plan, directions, navigation to get there. Now, without that map, how confident on a scale of 1 to 10 would I be that I can get there if I've never driven there before? On a scale of 1 to 10, how confident would I be?
A 0.
0, 3, 2, maybe I had an idea. Maybe a friend said, take 95. Maybe somebody said, drive south and you'll hit it eventually.
Yeah.
But if I start out from Ohio, I'm not going to hit Florida. Depends on if I start out from Seattle and drive south, I'm definitely not going to be anywhere in Florida. I will be in cartel territory. So the plan is so without the plan, my confidence is very low. With the plan, where's my confidence? Much higher, right? Much higher. So we must have a plan. We must have a deadline. And we must have a plan. Now, if the plan doesn't work, what do we do? Do we quit on the goal?
No.
Let's say I get a Rand McNally mattress and I'm driving to Florida and halfway there, there's a friggin' detour. So what do? I just turn around and go back to New Jersey?
No.
No. What do? I go around the detour, right? Well, that's life, isn't it? We want to go somewhere. And then, as some people put it, life happens. Or as Forrest Gump said, shit happens, right? So, but we don't turn around and go back. We just figure out a way to overcome it. You see, part of life is understanding that there's going to be roadblocks and obstacles, problems. And so what we do is, do we focus on the obstacles, roadblocks, and problems? No, we focus on the solutions. Because there is no problem created by man that cannot be solved by the mind of another man. You know who said that? Einstein. There is no
Mhm.
problem that cannot be solved by a mind. And that's part of what we discuss when we talk about the mastermind, which is lesson 6, I believe, chapter 6. Okay.
Mm.
So we must have a definite major purpose, a goal. Then we must back that goal by desire. How do we create desire? We create desire by auto-suggestion and visualization. And then what does that do? It builds what?
Belief.
Belief. And as our
Purpose.
belief becomes bigger, what happens to our action? Do we take less action or more action?
More.
More. And then once we have that belief and a desire, an obsessive desire, it's easy to stick to it. You see, if you never have desire, if you don't have desire, how easy is it to quit?
Very easy.
Yeah. Isn't that what happens to most people?
Mm.
Okay. So you must adopt a definite purpose, a goal, and stand by that purpose or goal until it has had time to become an all-consuming obsession. How do you make it an obsession? Well, has anybody ever here dated?
Mhm.
When you first started dating that guy or gal, how often did you think about them?
Constantly.
Constantly.
You woke up in the morning and what did you do? Think about them. And then remember the days when we actually used those things called phones? See, this is the thing that millennials don't get. They go, what's that? So you have to go like this. What am I doing now? Making a call. What am I doing now? I don't know. You're giving me a surfer signal, right? So what do we do? At night, we'd call them, we'd be on the phone and go, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. No, you hang up first. Okay, I'm saying goodbye. No, I'm not. Okay, goodbye. No. And you'd be on the phone for another hour after you said you're going to say goodnight, right? Anybody remember that, or was that just me being stupid?
No, yes.
Okay.
No,
I
that's me
remember
being
that my
stupid,
sister
too.
had remember teenage lines? When you had
Yeah.
a princess phone, they used to call them too. Well, we didn't have a teenage line. That was for the rich people. So we had the kitchen phone that was hung on the wall with a wire that would stretch from here to Minnesota.
Yeah.
Right.
And my sister would get on the phone and pull the phone around the house to her bedroom. It was all one level. And she'd sit there on the bed with the phone over here like this, talking with her girlfriends. Oh, he's so dreamy. Yes, I love Robert. He's got those green, beautiful eyes. Yes, I can't wait to kiss me. And she'd tell all her friends all that shit, right? And so me, we're 7 years apart. I'd see her door would be cracked and I'd see her on the phone with the phone on her ear over here. So what would I do? I'd grab the cord and yank it and the phone would fly out of her. And the next thing you would hear is, "Bark! Mom!" Right? Can't do that these days. There's no wires to these things. So you can't have that kind of fun anymore.
Mm.
So what happens is you thought about that person today, you text them, then you can't wait for them to text you back. Then you FaceTime them and then, whatever else happens after that, I don't know. But you constantly are thinking about them and thinking about being with them. Right? So anybody remember when they were dating somebody that they really cared about and they had to go on a family vacation and they were going to be away for a week and they wouldn't be able to see him, sometimes not even talk. What would happen during that week? Torture?
Yeah.
Would you be thinking about them even more? Sure, right? Because you missed them. You couldn't talk to them. When you came back, you were like hungry to see them, to kiss them, to do whatever it is that at whatever age you were that you could do. So the thing is that the way you build an obsession is by constantly thinking about the things you want, constantly visualizing what you want, and of course, affirming it. So part of autosuggestion is the word affirmation. What is an affirmation? An affirmation is a positive declaration of something that we believe to be true or want to be true. So if I affirm that I am
Incantation. Could
incantation.
be like an incantation. Yeah.
Tony Robbins, because he said affirmations don't work, so he called them incantation. Good marketing. Right? So, hey, great marketing, right? He's all spiritual now, but when he was 22 years old, he was living in a castle. So much for spirituality then. It's just life's journey, right? Life's journey.
Mm,
So the point being that we must affirm those things we want. And so if we have time, when we get to the chapter on autosuggestion, we're going to do a mini class on affirmation, how to write them and how to do them. And so the things that you want to remember about autosuggestion is, number one, it must be positive. It must be in the first person pronoun I. And it must be a personality. So if I have a problem with procrastination, do I say I no longer procrastinate? Is that a good affirmation?
mm-mm.
Why not?
Because you're not correcting that by just saying I'm
Right.
not.
Is I am no longer a procrastinator. Is that a positive declaration or negative?
It's negative.
Negative. What image does that create in my mind? I no longer procrastinate.
Procrastination.
Yeah, it has an image of me procrastinating. If I affirm I am a man of action, what's the image that creates?
Action.
The action.
Right.
Superman.
So remember, the words create images, right? It's all about images. So, and second rule about affirmations or autosuggestion is it must be out loud. Out loud. You can't mumble it to yourself. You can't go, I am a man of action. Jesus Christ, I'm such a man of action. It's I am a man of action, right? That's the male way. The female way would be different, but not as much explosion, but out loud. Third thing is it must be done repetitiously. Okay, so I want to become Arnold Schwarzenegger. I want to have a body like Arnold Schwarzenegger. So I joined the local gym. I go there on Monday. I lift weights. By Tuesday, I'm huge, right? I'm like, yeah, muscles up, right? I'm huge. I'm ready to get a film. I'm sore, right? But I'm huge, right? The muscles just sprout. No.
No.
What is going to make those muscles grow?
Repetition.
Repetition. Okay. So just like the muscles need repetitions to grow, our brain needs
The brain.
repetition to change our existing thoughts. So everything that you and I do is a result of our habits. Everything.
What did they say that?
Some things that we do them unconsciously because of our habits.
Consistency is the key.
Huh?
Consistency is the key.
Yeah. Well,
Mm-hmm.
repetition
That's what my son
has the
said.
word consistency in it. If I'm doing something repetitiously, it has to be consistent. But
He said you're right.
so I must, in order to change programming, right? So there's two kinds of habits. There's a physical habit, right? Throwing a baseball, catching a ball, picking up an object, driving. These are all habits, aren't they? They're physical habits. When I drive, I get in the car. I don't have to think about what I'm doing. I just drive, right? When I first started, what did I have to do? Check the mirror, check the brakes, check the seat, look to the right, to the left, put the key in the, now it's like hit the button and turn on the radio and go.
Mhm.
Right? I don't even think about it anymore, right? Anybody really think about what they're doing when they're driving, or do they just go on automatic pilot?
Autopilot.
Have you ever been on a highway and realized at some point that a mile has gone by and you don't remember it? Sure.
Absolutely.
And who's driving while you're doing that?
Your brain.
Your
Subconscious.
subconscious, right? Subconscious mind, which is where all the habits are stored,
Mhm.
all the programming. So one of the things that we must do is we must use repetition with our affirmations and repetition with our visualization. And we must review our goals on a daily basis. Why?
Repetition.
Yeah, because that's going to lead to belief. But more importantly, if we don't, we will forget about them. Why? Because there's so many distractions. There are way more distractions today than when we were growing up. We had 3 channels when I was growing up.
Mhm. Me too.
I didn't have internet. I didn't have a cell phone. I didn't have a tablet. I didn't have a laptop. We had, when we were lucky, we had one TV. One. Today, how many TVs or things that can project TV are in an average household?
It doesn't.
The kids have a TV in the
At
room, there's a
least.
TV in the living room, there's a TV in the sports room, the bedroom, and then you have a laptop, a cell phone, a computer. We're saturated with
Tablet,
media.
iPad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we're constantly being distracted,
Yes, we are.
right?
Yeah.
So what we need to do is we need to take a few minutes to get that distraction away and putting our focus on what we really want. And so we must have our goals must be written. Now that means we can type them up, and I'll provide you with forms that you can fill in a PDF form. But we must understand that autosuggestion is the powerful tool. Napoleon Hill said that the autosuggestion is the cornerstone of this philosophy. Does anybody know what a
Sorry to
cornerstone is?
interrupt.
Sure.
I have to go. Is there anything for next week? I have to go. So
Yes,
I
go
put
to
down the
this link.
chat.
Go to this
Okay.
link today or tomorrow. It's
Okay.
bit.ly/the-secret. And essentially what we're going to do is we're going to have a master class on the secret. And we're going to
Okay.
discuss how to take those 5 goals and how to break them out and how to convert them into what Napoleon Hill called a definite main purpose statement.
Okay. Okay.
Because if we do not have the way to express that affirmation, and we must begin to do it every day, at least twice a day, because that is the beginning of the process, and it will change your life. It will absolutely
Okay.
change your life. All right, so let's go back.
Thank you.
Oh, my
Good
pleasure.
evening, everybody. Sorry I have to go. I wanted to
That's
stay,
okay.
but
No
complicated.
worries. You got it, Evelyn.
See you next week.
So auto
Okay,
suggestion.
next week. Live life
Our
in passion.
brains become magnetized with the dominating thoughts which we hold in our minds, and by means with which no man is familiar, these magnets attract to us the forces, the people, the circumstances of life which harmonize with the nature of our dominating thought. So whatever you want in life, you must focus on it. If you will focus on it, you will magnetize it. If right now you're not experiencing the success or luck that you want, it's because you will never attract anything that your thoughts repel. If my thoughts repel something, it is impossible. Just like if I meet somebody, right? If I meet somebody and I have a nasty attitude, are they attracted to me or are they repelled by me? If I'm a Karen, right? In today's language. If I'm a Karen, Karens do not attract anybody. Everybody wants to throw them off the plane, throw them out of the supermarkets, or worse. I was reading about a Karen that got into an argument with these workers who were basically restoring power up north. And she started calling them names. They were there working for the state. They reported her to the police. She ran over the cop twice, and eventually they had to shoot her in order to get her to stop.
Wow.
She lost her life.
Karens are programmed
Yeah.
by society.
So it's a shame, but it's the conditioning. So whatever you want in life, now here's the thing. If you have any doubts will manifest. So you must suspend disbelief. You must say to yourself, I don't know how I'm going to accomplish this goal. I just know that it will happen. Through the grace of God, infinite intelligence, whatever you believe, I will achieve this goal. But you must first know exactly what that goal is, and that's what we will do. So what you need to do is go to this link by tomorrow. And if you go to this link, you're going to find, let me go and show you the page. Where is it? Okay, it's not there. It's here. Oh, here it is. So let me share that. Okay, so if you will go to this page, let me see, can everybody see this? Can everybody see this?
Yeah.
It says, who else wants to discover the Thinking We're Rich weird success secret?
Please send it here.
Huh?
Send it over to Lori.
Let's see, hold on, I'm gonna enlarge this. Let me try to share it again.
Thank you.
Share screen. Okay, can everybody see that? It says,
I see
wait
it.
before you go, read this. Who else wants to discover the Thinking Grow Rich Weird Success Secret? Does everybody see that?
I see it.
Yes, I see
So
it.
that's where that link is going to take you. And in this sales page, you're going to read about my friend Alan, who is an interesting individual. He discovered the secret to Thinking Grow Rich when he was 25 years old. Today, he's 55 years old. He makes over $300,000 a month. He has over $100 million in real estate in Hawaii. The thing about Alan is that if you look at his left hand, he only has a thumb and the other fingers are all fused together. So the kids used to call that a hook. He only has one leg and one hand. So you would call that disabled. And as Alan tells the story, he should have been home collecting disability because there's not much you can do with one hand and one leg. He was born with a defect because his mother took a medication back in the day to prevent morning sickness, and it caused an abnormality in him. But
Was it
today-
Agent Orange?
Huh?
Was it Agent Orange?
No, there was a different medication. It was very popular back in the 60s to give to women. I forget the name of it. He mentioned it once or twice. But you can read the story there, and he'll tell you about how he was mentored by a man by the name of Alan Green, who was mentored by Napoleon Hill. And when he met Mr. Green was 82 years old at that time. And this was back in the 60s. You'll read about my buddy, Derek, and how he used Thinking Grow Rich to come back from bankruptcy and a near-death experience, and used the secrets in Thinking Grow Rich to become, he now has an income of $300,000 a year, but he's made over $7 million, the secret. And then you'll read about the goal achievement formula. And then at the bottom, you'll be able to get a copy of the lost chapter in Thinking Grow Rich, How to Outwit the 6 Ghosts of Fear. And you'll get the definite main purpose statement template, which you'll need in order to do that exercise. You'll get the unstoppable self-confidence formula, a condensed copy of Thinking Grow Rich audio, the complete Thinking Grow Rich audio course, which is 21 audios, 1 audio for each lesson and more. And then a bonus interview. You'll get an interview that I did with Don Green, who's the president of the Napoleon Hill Foundation, where he shared some really incredible insights. And normally this has a value of $1,100. I used to sell it for $37, but for this time, if you decide to do it, you'll pay only $19, and that'll give you access to the Mastermind DMPS call, which will probably be not next week, but the week after that on Thursday.
Wonderful.
And once you join, I'll send you the email link to do that.
Thank you.
So there's a ton of stuff here. Take a chance, take a look at it. I think you'll find that it's a huge value for you. So I didn't want to go into the second story in the book, which is the story of Darby and his story, which is more about persistence and not giving up. But in order for you to have that kind of persistence, you must first know what you want, and you must begin developing the belief behind it. If you believe you can do something, you'll do it. But along the way, you're going to have obstacles. Trust me, it's going to happen. There's going to be obstacles, there's going to be problems. And what's going to get you to overcome that is going to be your why. And so we're going to spend a great deal of time, once we identify your goal, working on what your why is, okay? And how to get a powerful why, a why that makes you do whatever it takes to succeed. Because if you walk up and down the street, how many people would tell you that they'd love to be a multimillionaire, right? Everybody would say, yes, I want to be a multimillionaire. Okay. How many people are really multimillionaires that you know of? In your life, how many people are multimillionaires? $5 million to $10 million net worth. Okay. You might know 1, 2, or 3. You might be one. But the real issue is that everybody wants to do it. Unfortunately, not everybody does. They want to be millionaires if they could do it Monday through Friday, have weekends off, be done by 5 o'clock, right? They could do it if it was easy. See, but it requires work. There is no easy solution. This is law of attraction is in reality a bunch of horseshit, because law of attraction says that it'll come to you and all you have to do is affirm it. Well, unfortunately, Mr. Hill and Mr. Carnegie discovered that you must affirm it, but you must also take action. Without action, what is the old saying from the Testament? Faith without works is dead, right? So you can have all the faith, but if you don't do something towards it, you're not going to achieve it. So the next 14 weeks is going to be focused on you achieving a business goal or income goal or financial goal and one personal goal. And we're going to focus on making sure that each week you stay accountable, that we make sure that you're crystal clear on what it is you want. And then we're going to spend an entire hour on creating a definite main purpose statement. So by the next time, in fact, what I'll do is I'll do that as next week's call only, so that by the third call, you'll already be able to do your statement every day. And we're going to check on you to make sure you're doing it so that you have a way to do it. Okay. So I'm going to go ahead. It's now 10:23. I thank you, everybody, for staying on the call this late. And I do appreciate your time. I'm glad you're able to make it. And I will see you next Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern time. Y'all have a great night now.
Thanks, Bert.
I'm gonna
Thank
stop
you, Bert.
recording.